reminds me of that holiday, and I loved that holiday so much. So I started this. I read the first chapter at home the day before we left, and I was like, this looks so good. And then I read quite a bit on the plane because it's a long journey from the UK to Mexico, and then I read it in I don't even remember, I think it was a day and a half, 2 days. I didn't want to read it too quick, but while we were by the pool and stuff, this is what I was reading, basically about this couple. They're both teachers, and this girl called Addie. I'm not going to say too much because I like going into thrillers, books, even any kind of book, any genre, romance, whatever, blind. I will read the blurb before I buy it, unless it's a recommendation, and then I will forget about the blurb before I read it. I like to be surprised, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to give you too much. You can see it is horribly taken care of. This is probably just from travelling, and it was like by the pool and stuff, like I said. When I finished this book, I went and I looked up like what other people thought, and this got quite mixed reviews. I think a lot of people will be like, this is not better than The Housemaid, and I will tell you why I think it is. I don't know why I think it is. I just think it is. I despised every person in this book, and a lot of people were using that as a negative. I think that's a positive. I did not know who to root for. I mean, at a certain point I kind of did, but I was like, I don't like any of you. So it kept me hooked, it kept me entertained. I just loved it, and I think that there's quite a few twists in it, which is to be expected with the Freedom McFadden book, but one of, I don't know if I want to do spoilers, but one of them was just, so you have the main lady, her name is Eve, and she's been through some stuff in her past, and she's currently doing some stuff, and she doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing. She's having an affair. Okay, spoiler alert. She's having an affair. And then the girl, Addie, cheats on a test. She's her maths teacher, Eve is. And Eve is like, that's so wrong. Cheating is so wrong. And it's like, girl, you're cheating on your man. But she doesn't see like what she's doing wrong. But then you kind of realise why she thinks like that, because it's that sense of you know a situation is wrong, and you know why a situation is wrong, but when you're in it you can't see it. It's just done really well. So I love this. 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10. I love it. I would read it again, and I recommend it to anybody who likes thrillers. I love it so much. I love it so much. Okay, next I'm gonna do my most unexpectedly good read, and that is this, Bangle Down by Tessa Bailey. Tessa Bailey writes fluffy romance. For those of you who don't know, she writes very like rom-com-y, fluffy romances, very spicy romances. This one is about a golfer who falls for his caddy. When I first heard that she was coming out with this golfer with touch her and you die energy, I was like, Tessa, please. And it is cringe. Let me just preface, it's cringy in certain areas, but I actually really enjoyed it. Once I passed I think halfway, I was really enjoying it, and I finished it within a day. I don't know, I just think it was nice. I liked them as a couple. Do I think that they will last? No, but I don't think that many romance book couples last. I do not think these two last. I don't care what the epilogue says, but I liked it as a read. I give it 3.54 stars. I think it was cute and it was surprising. I think because my expectations were low, but I liked it. I actually surprisingly liked it. And actually, there is a second book in Side Rant. These books there's an overarching storyline, there's an overarching stake, there's a big bad, or there is something that they're working towards, you know, like throughout the entire series. That my biggest pet peeve. That transitions us very nicely into my most disappointing read of the year so far. I'm gonna have to preface this. I have not finished this book. I couldn't do that to myself. This is the second book in my life that I've DNF'd, but it's not. I will finish it, just maybe in like 3 years. It is so boring, and like half of the problem that I have with this book is the fact that the Twisted books are called the Twisted series because it's not a series. It's the same universe. It is 4 girls that are in a friend group, and that is great. It's not a series. It's not a series because you can read all 4 books as a standalone. And if one thing that would really improve this book is, okay, let me explain myself better. I get very heated over these books. I've read Twisted Games, Twisted Love. I thought it was fine. I liked it. It was one of the first books I ever read, so I think at the time I was like, this is amazing. And now I'm like, it was good, but I don't know if I think the same thing now. Twisted Games, much better. I liked it. A bit too long for what the story was, but good. This, the problem is there's so much time spent talking about the past books that you're like, it's a series, I've read them, so why are you telling me? And the reason that she's telling you is because some people might not have read them, but then that's when you have a series versus books in the same universe, because if you want it to be that anyone could pick up Twisted Lies, for example, and like kind of know what's going on and not need to read the others, then make it be like that. But if you need to know what happened in the book before, like for example in this book, Stella gets the apartment for cheap because of Christian, which is Twisted Lies, which is what that's about. So you kind of need to know that happens. I don't know, but then I bet you any money in Twisted Lies she explains that, whereas it's like, okay, just don't explain that, because if you're writing a series, you're expecting people to have read the 3rd book, and if they haven't, then you say read the 3rd book. Does that make sense? Because they're not a series. If I can pick one off the shelf and like read it as a standalone because you've told me everything I need to know. Like, she's literally told me everything about Twisted Love in this, because we need to understand Alex and Josh's animosity towards each other. Well, Josh's animosity towards Alex. But if you just go off the fact that everyone read the 1st book, we wouldn't have to waste time. That was my problem with this book. There was so much wasted time talking about the past 2 books that I just didn't care. There's so much info dumping that it makes it boring to read. I just didn't like it. It's not bad because I haven't finished it, and I know a lot of people do like it, but it's just boring, and it's so big. Like, it's 500 pages. For what? They're enemies to lovers. I don't know. I just didn't like it. It was disappointing because I had high hopes, because I thought I would like it, but I just didn't. But I still will finish it. Okay, that was such a side run, I'm sorry. So the next book I'm going to show you is my